Social norms, they influence our decisions a lot. They influence what schools people go to, what jobs people take, how they act. And social norms telling women to be weak and men to be strong, and men to be tough and brutish and women to be emotional and sensitive, those things affect us. We should try to ignore them as much as we can. You shouldn't just go with whatever society tells you that you should act like because you're a man or because you're this or what, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you want to do. But when I talk to people, feminists actually, about men's rights, they call me misogynist and sexist. And that's ridiculous because, heck, if I went up to a feminist who advocates for women's rights and I called them a misandrist, a misandrist, I don't know if that's a word, but misandry is, then, that's ridiculous. Unless that person is only helping women, and they're only helping women in ways that make it harder for men, like, for example, making it easier for women to get custody of children, that would just be mean and bad, because women already have an extreme advantage when it comes to that. Your likelihood to get custody of your children is much higher if you're a woman, and your likelihood to have to pay alimony is much lower if you're a woman. And that's ridiculous. And there's other situations where men are kind of disadvantaged. For example, most of the prison population is composed of men. And now the response to that is going to be that men are more violent than women. And yes, this is true to an extent, but I don't think it's true to so much of an extent that most of the population of prison, that men make up most of the prison population. I don't think I don't think men are that much more violent than women on average. Just a little bit. Another situation is domestic violence. People seem to think that it's extremely rare that it ever happens to men, or it just doesn't happen, when really it's extremely rare for it to get reported and heard of and, publicized in the media, because people don't care. People will laugh if a man gets beaten up by his girlfriend. Can you imagine if a woman went to the police and said, "My husband beat me up," and they laughed at her? That would be really insensitive. And that's what it's like for men who go to, they get laughed at a lot. Now, obviously not everyone they encounter is going to laugh at them directly, but they might laugh behind their back or make fun of them in some way, which is ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Other situations, like men are 9 times more likely to die in the workplace. That's because most of the unfavorable jobs are occupied by men. Because generally women, not all the time, but often women have the choice to stay home, take care of the kids and cook and clean and whatever, or go to work. And if their work options are nothing but crap jobs, they're probably going to choose to stay home. And generally men don't have that option, so that's why. But then there's other situations like college. It used to be that women were the minorities in college. They instituted female-only scholarships, and now men are the minorities in college. And there are sports scholarships, which are kind of the only male-only scholarships, but that's really ridiculous. You should not have to play a sport. The only reason you should be playing a sport is if you want to, not to get a scholarship. That's ridiculous. If you have to risk your life and your brain, because sports are dangerous, and spend a lot of your time devoting to a sport that maybe you don't even care about to get a scholarship because there are no men-only scholarships, that's ridiculous. Really, I don't think that there should be gendered scholarships at all. There should just be scholarships for people who need them. It shouldn't matter what gender you are. But at the moment, we really do need male-only scholarships. And when you bring something like this up to certain feminists, they call you sexist. They say, "Oh, you're trying to get male superiority." And it's like, really? Are you listening to what I'm saying? It sounds like you're the one who's trying to get female superiority. Since when I bring up a legitimate issue about something that's affecting men, you're just like, well, what about this issue that's affecting women? I'm an egalitarian. I'm in favor of of giving people equal opportunity regardless of their gender. So I would identify as an MRA and a feminist, but The thing is, there are many people in both of those movements that I strongly disagree with and find ridiculous. So I don't identify as either of those things. I mean, the word egalitarian exists. I don't know why there's so many other words that supposedly mean equality. I don't know how you kind of attain equality by only focusing on one gender. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. But there are other situations, for example, that with that jail thing. I think much of that has to do with the fact that women can much more easily get off the hook for minor crimes. They can more easily, if they're pretty or attractive to the officer, they can show their cleavage or whatever, and oftentimes get away with it, whereas that's pretty much unheard of in the reverse. And I think when it comes to legal practices, women are often kind of favored. They're comforted. You know, like when a man goes through a tough thing, they say, you know, toughen up, be a man, and don't show tears, you know, stuff like that. When a woman goes through a difficult situation, everyone comforts her, pats her on the back. But you know what? They should react the same way as they react with a woman in any situation. If someone's just been through a difficult ordeal, they should be comforted, regardless of their gender. And you shouldn't tell them, don't shed a tear, because that's ridiculous and insensitive. It's also stereotyping. You know, if you're saying it to a man because he's a man, or whatever, it's ridiculous.